wonder what a homeschool schedule actually looks like in real life? I'm going to show you how we organize our week with the main subjects plugged in while keeping it simple and as flexible as possible while homeschooling 3 kids. So,
raising neurodivergent kids is messy, beautiful, and a lot. I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home. Let's figure it out together.
So let's get started. Okay, so I've seen some questions about what I actually do with my kids. I have 3 kids that I'm homeschooling right now. I have an 11-year-old, an almost 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So those grades are 5th grade, 2nd grade, and preschool. So I'm going to give you a little glimpse into what our schedule looks like, and hopefully it doesn't scare you away. So we're going to focus on what it actually looks like for 3 kids. So I'm going to share my screen. If you watched my last video, you learned about how to schedule your school around appointments. And so this is what I started with when I started planning out my school year. So you can see I have Mondays are pretty open except for in-home therapies that are every day from 12:30 to 3, Monday through Thursday. And then we have to have lunch at some time. We have therapies on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Fridays are open unless we schedule another appointment, which is often a possibility. So these are the subjects that are my goal for this year. So that's language arts, math, religion, science, science lab, history, geography, art, and keyboarding for my 5th grader. Then this is what it's going to look like. So after the first week, we discovered that 12 o'clock was too late for lunch, that we needed to do it around 11. And also when we're getting home from therapies, it's usually around 11 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this helps with their transition time with eating lunch instead of trying to get right back into school. And then when you're starting at 8, by 11, they're ready for a break. So we have from 8 to 11 on Mondays, we're going to be doing religion, language arts, and math. And the religion is heavy in language arts as well because we're reading a scripture and then we're analyzing it, figuring out what it means, and then they're doing some copy work on it. And then for lunchtime, they get to watch a video while they're eating lunch for 30 minutes. And usually on Mondays, it's going to be religion-based because we're starting our new scripture for that week. And then we watch videos that are related to that. And then if we have more time, there could be a math video. Will we use some math with confidence? He has a suggested book list, and I have a playlist of those books on YouTube that I'll show them. Or there could be something science related that we're working on that week, and I might put on a video for that as well. So it's just kind of open. And then we have science for that next hour where I'm reading, and they have a science journal that they're filling in the activities that Real Science for Kids has for them. And so that's what we're doing for that hour. So during this whole time, I'm working with my 2 oldest, my 5th grader and 2nd grader. And I'm flopping between the 2, especially for language arts and math. Those are individual studies where I do one-on-one with them. Religion, we do together. They do the lunch together, and we do science together. And so while I'm doing language arts with one person, I usually have something else for the other person to do. And then also the same with math, so that the other person is busy doing independent work while I'm working one-on-one with the other kid. And then in this time right here, I usually don't eat during lunchtime. It's a little early for me, plus I'm busy making their lunch and doing other things. So I usually eat when the therapists come because I have 2 kids occupied. And so that's when I usually eat. And then also I do preschool for my 4-year-old. And so I get to use this block here because the 2 other kids, I can't do school with them, to do school with my preschooler. She does not need a lot of time. She's 4. She's the one that's insisting on doing school. So we're working on math and letters and some other things, colors, shapes, whatever. And then I also just spend more time with my 4-year-old and my 1.5-year-old in tow. And so this is the time that I use for that. I also use it for prepping meals, and I also use it to gather the supplies for the science lab. So then once the therapists leave, we have this time to work on whatever the science lab is. This has been working well these last couple weeks. And then my 5th grader has 10 minutes of keyboarding. Then on Tuesdays, we have to leave at 8, and then one of them has therapy from 8:30 to 9:30. The other one has therapy from 9:30 to 10:30. I do the history audio in the car. The textbook is in audio form also. They have the textbook. They have a coloring sheet that they can use that's in their history journal that we've already prepped. And they can color, or they can listen. They can look at their history textbook while the audio is going in the car. So we have about 15 minutes there, 15 minutes coming back. And then they have lunchtime, and we'll watch YouTube videos about history that I already have a playlist for. They'll watch it during the time. And then we'll work on math. A lot of times I'll even be able to get to math with the second grader because his subjects are shorter. But with the fifth grader, I'll be doing math during that time. And then they have therapy. And then we do any science that is left over that we didn't finish on Monday. We then finish it on Tuesday. And then we also do our science reader. And then my fifth grader does keyboarding. So on Wednesdays, we have from 8 to 9:15 where I work with my fifth grader because that's pretty much the only time that I have with him on Wednesdays. Once it's 9:15, we get in the car, we listen to audio to his first appointment, and then that appointment's for an hour, and I work on language arts and math with my second grader. Then we're back in the car to get to our next appointment. So we're listening to audio again. Once the history text is done, then we'll move on to history audiobooks, and we'll listen to those in the car. And so then they have therapy, and then we drive home, so we have audio again. Then we have in-home therapy. On Wednesdays, they usually have to eat lunch in the car to make it work because they only have about 15 minutes before therapy starts when we get home. So they can use that time to also get a snack. And then they have therapy, and then we do some easier stuff on Wednesdays. So they're gluing some pictures on the history timeline with Biblioplan, and they're doing map work for geography. And then if we have time, we do our history reader, where we're doing some partnership reading. So they're doing a little bit and I'm doing a little bit. And then my fifth grader has keyboarding again in the afternoon. On Thursday, it's the reverse. I have from 8 to 9 before we have to leave. So I work with my second grader because he's going to be the one with the appointment in the morning. So I work with him until it's time to go. We have history audio in the car. And then my older kid is catching up on any of the stuff he hasn't finished in these days. That's what he's working on in the morning. And then we have my fifth grader that has an hour in the car where we look at math and we look at language arts. A lot of times he's doing math worksheets at that point. When we get back home, we were usually doing games and stuff that don't travel as well. He has an hour of that. We have history during lunch. And then I have that hour, and I'm working with whoever I need to work with for language arts and more math in that time period too. And then they have in-home therapy, and then we're using Sparketh this year. They watch a video with Sparketh and they do 1 to 2 lessons, and then they're done with their art, and then we continue our history reader that we're working on, keyboarding. Fridays, mornings are language arts and math, and then they're catching up on all the things this week that they did not get to. They might have done some of it but didn't finish it. We're catching up on that. I'm available for either of them to do whatever they need to catch up. And then there's lunchtime, and it's more of a history movie at that point. We'll watch something fun for the time period. Our time period this year is medieval or Middle Ages. In the afternoon, ideally, we'll have play dates or field trips or other things to do for enrichment. And we're going to go with the flow on that. And then my son also has keyboarding. So keyboarding might not necessarily be this late. It would probably be moved up to the school catch-up. It's just however it flows for us for that day. But I have it down, so it's something we're still trying to do if we can. My goal is at least 4 times a week, ideally 5 times a week for him to get keyboarding in. So that's what it looks like for us. I still go with the flow, and I try to do something with them at first, and then I have an assignment for that other kid to do after that work is done with the combined stuff together. And then that one is working on independent work while I'm working another one-on-one. And then I switch. Okay, that one is done with independent work. It's time to do some school with that. And that person's doing independent work so that it flows. In our schedule, you could see that there were natural pauses throughout the day. So I was either switching subjects between the kids one-on-one and them having their independent time. And if they finish their independent time early, then they get some free time. And then also we have lunch and we have transitions between appointments. And so there's a lot of opportunities for breaks throughout the day too, because that's important and to help decrease fatigue. So this is what our schedule looks like. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments or other things you would like to see, more details about a certain subject. Let me know what you would like more information on and how I can help you make homeschooling easier. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.